Avian XTV, presented by Browning.
Blue Stem, tell me about your operation. Where'd that name come from?
Well, my dad started Sportsman Blue Stems Incorporated in the late 80s as a seed business. And the name Blue Stems come from the varieties of native grass seed, big blue stem, little blue stem, you know, Indian grass. And he was harvesting and then selling grass seed as part of a main part of his business. That was when CRP and
we do have a lot of that in northern Ohio. So you got cattle, running cattle too? I see a bunch of... Yeah,
we run a lot of cattle. We have a heifer development program, so we develop heifers and breed them and then sell them to the cowman for replacement.
Right.
My dad started the blue stem upland hunting 20 years ago, and so yeah, I mean, waterfowl is kind of my main thing, and then you guys have been hunting with Jared a little bit, and he's the main man out in the field. And
so operations, you take care of the business side of things and book a lot of the hunts, and Jared handles a lot of the hunting stuff.
That's pretty much right. We operate on our farm and ranch maybe 8,000 or 9,000 acres, but then whenever you talk about the neighbors and the places that we have access to, I mean, we can dang near access a 15 to 20 mile radius of this area. It's basically calling the neighbors and seeing if you can hunt.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what's allowed us to grow.
It's hard to get permission, you know, and so the hunting is so good, but you really almost need to do it with an outfitter anymore.
Yeah, you got to work together.
That's good for you guys, right?
Yeah, it is. And part of the reason that I wanted to start it, because heck, it was hard for me to get anywhere to hunt.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And then when Jared came over and we knew that we could make it work and get access to the places that were good and you know, get the farmer, you know, kind of something for it, as opposed to just kind of letting people go out there. Because when the farmer's having somebody make money on their land,
they want a piece
yeah,
of the
sure they do. Sure,
and just work for everybody. So I know obviously you make a lot of money doing your seed business and the pheasants, and then obviously the waterfowl now. But I know you do cattle as well.
Yeah, I mean, probably the main business and the main reason we're all here is the cattle industry.
That's the money.
Yeah, that's kind of our bread and butter.
Well, I know you said you had to go feed some cows, and I got to meet Jared later. So if you need to get going, let's go ahead and go do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then we'll meet Jared later.
Sounds good.
So on our operation, we develop breeding heifers. So we buy Angus heifer calves from the northern United States, typically Montana, Wyoming, and we bring them in here in the fall, and we run them on a winter forage of some sort, typically wheat pasture or a cover crop mix with some other different winter forages. What I have here is a dried distiller's grain cube. So it's been compressed into a cube, which makes it better to feed on the ground. A dried distiller's grain can be fed in a ground ration, kind of as, you know, something that looks more like a dust. And but we like to feed it in a pellet so we can feed it out in the native range grass, and the cattle can eat it and they can get it all eaten this way. And so it's really a supplement. It's not the main part of the diet. The forage is the main part of the diet, which is the way the good Lord intended. But supplementing with this protein is very valuable for the animals, just as protein is for the human body as well.
This segment is brought to you by Browning BXD Ammo.
We're gonna run what we call a donut. We're gonna run a big circle with a whole big band of feeders at the front. We've had a few snows in here, so we're gonna mix in about 100 snows or so. Just make them look like they're feeding real aggressive up here front. We're gonna have about a 25-mile-an-hour wind. And that's usually real good news on lessers, because they'll set up out in front of you and get real low, and we've had a little problem with them kind of getting on top of our head this year. So the idea is to get them to set up over that outer band and then glide up into these feeders and hop in front of them, so we have about a 15-yard shot.
So Jared, tell me about this windmill. I would think the geese would be afraid of them. It's not that far, it's right there.
Yeah, we really haven't had a problem with them yet. They don't necessarily work between them. We've got two right here in front of us, but we hunted this a couple weeks ago and we killed about 85 geese in here. And they'll actually come into the field from east or west instead of north or south, and then they'll
Because
work.
of the windmills.
Yeah, and then
There's a lot of corn here, though.
Yeah, oh yeah, and they know it's here for sure. They've been in here for about a week.
I know up at home, man, especially in Ontario, a lot of the windmills push the ducks out and geese out of the fields.
Yeah, and it seems like here our roost is straight west. So they've been coming in from the west, and they come down this tree line, and it's
So they're
caused
cutting
them,
in before.
Yeah, and the only thing we've had with them is it does cause them to kind of get on the top of us a little more than we
Sounds
like.
like there's an airplane flying around that windmill.
Yeah.
The wind's ripping.
Yeah, it's loud. Yeah, so
We better get these decoys set up, folks.
yep, let's go.
Hurry up now. We set the decoys in the dark. It's always, once the sun comes up, you always do a little adjustments, which the guys are doing here. What we're trying to do is basically make almost like a circle or a donut. Lessers like to land pretty much in a circle, and they start feeding outwards and start feeding towards the feed. What we're trying to simulate here, since we're edge hunting, is that out there, you see the far decoys all pretty much have their heads up, that those geese have landed and they're not been able to find feed, and they're just kind of walking this way. And then right here at this feed line is what we call it. There's a tremendous amount of decoys with their heads down. This is simulating that there's a lot of food right here. Lessers are very aggressive at feeding, and so they'll come right up to the head of the spread. So, and the head of the spread's right in front of the blind, so a perfect situation.
They're flying around like they're like scared or something, like somebody's getting them up. You still see them? Oh crap, they're freaking trying to land in that weed out there. And the ducks are too.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the weather. We talked about earlier, warm weather. They basically come off the roost, flew almost all the way back to the roost and landed. You know, it's kind of like they're just out stretching it. That windmill, though, with that wind ripping, it's amazing what that sounds like. There might be a little bit of a sound column there too, because every bird just comes a certain far. They definitely, even though the wind's this way, they definitely don't float down over in here. Like normally lessers would be like right where that windmill is, turn and ball up, come right in. But they're following this tree line, and then we got shade from that tree on our decoys. Last night there was 8,000 or 10,000 in here. Tonight, it's not like the place to be. You would never guessed it. Weather, probably be the most important factor. Shadow on the decoys and that windmill noise. Put 3 of them together and they're just a little spooky. Kill him. Man. Cut him. Get him.
Oh, y'all got it. Both of them.
This segment is brought to you by Mossy Oak. It's not a passion, it's an obsession. This segment is brought to you by Avian X. Fuel the madness. And Zinc Calls. A champion in every call.
Change your calling tactics a little bit. You know, setting an edge hunt like this, a lot of times when the geese drift over you, this morning the wind wasn't blowing very hard, and when they come over the top, we just kind of blowing them off. Now the wind's blowing hard, so when they drift over us, we just kind of quiet down, let the decoys do the work, to get out from us, hit them hard again, and it seems to be really working. Cut him. Sit.
Watch that one right. That one going long, barely flying, out the right end.
Yeah, baby. Freaking
Keep
speck
down, right?
massacre.
There. Max, the live one coming towards you. Hey.
Is it specs?
Yeah, I think so.
Kill him. Big wad coming. Here it comes, Jared. Kill him. Seems like there's a lot of specks in this area.
Yeah, it's always been really good here. A lot of birds out here, a lot of grain, but we've definitely never seen this many specks around here.
As the specks, when you travel across the U.S., man, that's like they've exploded the population. They're pretty much everywhere anymore. Even in Ohio, we're shooting some, but Southern Illinois, there's a lot of places that have specks that didn't used to have them. You know, they're a cool bird. Now, with the specks expanding and down here, and especially here in Oklahoma, all across the Midwest, the opportunity to shoot specks and decoy specks is getting more and more prevalent everywhere. Has a lot to do with the habitat, which the breeding grounds are where they're coming from, and just a high success rate of recruitment for the young.
Quill in there.
Kill him. West of Canada. About 20 yards, pretty awesome.
This segment is brought to you by Mossy Oak. It's not a passion, it's an obsession. This segment is brought to you by Avian X. Fuel the madness. And Zinc Calls. A champion in every call.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's how it's supposed to work. I kind of learned from ourselves. Nobody's home until they get downwind, and you got to tell them where the party's at.
You know, this bird right here, there's abundance of them across the United States, obviously from in the Mississippi Flyway all the way to the West Coast. It's a preferred bird for most goose hunters. And this bird is probably the best eating goose there is. Their diet lends to a very, very good table quality, and but they're very smart. In my opinion, mature specs, pressured, they're probably some of the smartest birds out there. Now we made the new Avian X spec decoys. You know, spec has a unique bill. They got a little bigger head on them. But if by chance you can keep them clean, a flock spec decoy, in my opinion, is much more effective. I think the biggest reason is it doesn't shine, it doesn't sheen. It reflects more in the ultraviolet closer to the real bird's feathers. So I highly recommended a flock decoy. Now when we made these, we tried to make them so they blend as close as possible. Now every spec's a little bit different. On decoys, our theory with decoys is contrast is the best thing you could possibly have. So we tend to paint our darks darker and our lights lighter. When I get out here in the West, it's a bird that I love to target. Good eating, decoy great, and man, when they come in, you see them big orange feet stick out, makes your heart pump for sure. Get him! Kill him!
Watch that, watch that.
Oh, get with the dogs?
Yep.
Yeah, barrels out.
Barrels up!
Watch that Rocky. Down, there, back there.
You see that snow I killed, Justin?
Cut him!
Get up!
Back! Cut him! Get up!
Caleb! Good shooting, boys. Kill him.
Got a little bit of a white ring.
Get him. Kill him. Speculation.
Hey, watch that single on the left coming back around.
Golden leaves on concrete streets, they feel out of place. Why not take a bite of pure sunlight? It's a different kind of taste. Oh, so long, so long. I'm going home, past the blinds of closed windows.
Powder in my eye, powder in my mouth. I shot 2 times. I just like I can't think no more. And there were geese everywhere. I was just like, ow.